When Windows 8 was introduced, it switched to IPv6 addressing, and as I've shown in previous videos, server applications can listen for both IPv4 and IPv6 connections. I'm going to show you a couple of ways this can be configured in Apache using WAMP server and the individual Apache component. I'll start with WAMP server. I'll go to the /WAMP folder, and from there to the bin folder, to Apache, to the Apache version, and then conf for configuration. And I'll open httpd.conf in a text editor. Now, I'm going to search for the word listen. This is where you indicate the port number you're listening on. In WAMP server's default configuration file, they have two listen directives, one with 0.0.0.0 and the other with ::0. The first is the IPv4 version and the second is the IPv6 version. This is why Netstat shows you two listings of the process, one for each of the IP addresses. Now let's look at the version that I downloaded from Apache Friends. I'll close TextPad, and I'll go over to my C drive, to my Apache folder, to the conf directory, and I'll open this version of the configuration file. And once again, I'll search for the word listen. And this is another approach that accomplishes the same thing. Instead of listing the IP addresses, this version just lists the port number, port 80. And that's how simple it can be. It's also worth knowing that on older versions of Apache, you might have to deal with IPv6 when you're assigning permissions. For an example of this, I'll go once again to the WAMP server directory, /WAMP. And this time I'll go to the alias folder. This is where the configuration files for your aliases, that is your virtual directories, are created. And I'll open the default configuration file for phpMyAdmin. Notice that there are two different versions of the directive that tells WAMP server it should only take requests from the local machine. If you're working with Apache 2.4, it's simply require local. But in the older versions of Apache, it was more complex. First, you had to indicate the order of evaluation. And this version says first evaluate deny commands and then allow commands. Then it denies all requests and then allows requests from localhost, ::1 and 127.0.0.1. ::1 is the IPv6 version of localhost, and 127.0.0.1 is the IPv4 version. On systems that support IPv6, it's important to understand how Apache is granting permissions and listening to the different ports. Again, typically you'll need to listen for both IPv4 and IPv6, and all it takes is a few directives in your Apache configuration files.